Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. And we begin with mission Chandrayaan. Ladies and gentlemen, the countdown has begun for India's moon mission. The moon mission this time around has one objective. We've got the takeoff right, we've got the journey, the trajectory, entry into the moon's orbit right. What we need to get right this time around is perfect the landing. And if we do that, then we become the fourth nation after the likes of China, USA and Russia who can claim this kind of dominance in the space race, but more importantly, the most cost-effective and reliable. That's what we'd be, because we get it right faster than anybody else. So that's the big date that we have with the moon, the countdown beginning for the launch of India's much-awaited space mission Chandrayaan 3. This historic launch will take place on Friday, 2:35 p.m. from Sriharikota. And the Bahubali rocket LVM-3 will launch Chandrayaan 3 into the moon. Chandrayaan 3 is also, like I said, a follow-up to mission Chandrayaan 2. And the main objective of Chandrayaan 3 is to land safely on the surface, to demonstrate rover operations and perform scientific experiments on site. The moon landing is expected to be on the 23rd or the 24th of August. The launch of the Chandrayaan 3 is a significant milestone in India's space program. The mission will help India to learn more about the moon and its history, and also help India develop further technologies for future lunar and intergalactical missions or space missions, interplanetary missions. With the Chandrayaan 3, India seeks to become the fourth nation, like I said, after Russia, US and China, to achieve a successful soft landing on the moon. So let's try and understand a little more about this moon mission, ladies and gentlemen. Why is it so special? Now, first up, the launch will be from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota. Now, if you look at it, the SDSC Shah in Sriharikota, the space station, the components, propulsion module, lander module, and of course the rover. These will be the components of Chandrayaan 3. And it's the GSLV launch vehicle, GSLV Mk3, which will be the launch vehicle for the same. The module is mass itself is about 3,900 kilograms, so roughly about 4 tons. And if you look at it, the propulsion module is 2,148 kg. The lander module itself, if you look at it, is at about 1,752 kilograms. The landing site will be the south polar region of the moon's surface. That's where the landing will be attempted. The duration is 14 Earth days. So 14 Earth days is equal to 1 lunar day. So those who follow the Hindu calendar will understand this too. The significance: demonstrate safe and soft landing on the lunar surface, demonstrate that rover roving on the moon, and conduct in situ experiments. That means on-site experiments. Now let's try and tell you something more about this lander, Vikram. What will it do? What was it supposed to do the last time around? Significant improvements have been made. It's a spectro. It will investigate spectral and polarimetric measurements. That's what it will do. It will also help in investigating further in terms of the moon surface, measure near the surface plasma density, try and get some samples. It is called Ramba, or radical anatomy of the moon. Bound hypersensitive ionosphere and atmosphere will measure the near surface plasma density and study the gas and plasma environment. The Chandra's surface thermophysical experiment, or CHAST, will measure thermal properties and surface temperature. ILSA, is going to be used to measure the seismicity around the landing site itself. Laser retroflector is part of the rover vehicle. It's an array that now this is a passive experiment to understand the dynamics of the moon. So all of this will have to be conducted remotely, taking the time lag into question. The commands will have to be programmed, and of course the monitoring. Because of the lapse, the distance itself, there will be a delay of at least 20 seconds from what's actually happened until the data comes in. Now let's tell you what are the key features of this rover, that is Pragyan, the Pragyan rover. Alpha particle X-ray. Now it will also that's what it will do. It will look for elements in the lunar soil. That's the spectrometer. This will look for elements in the lunar soil. The laser-induced breakdown spectroscope. Now that will assess the chemical and elemental composition of the lunar surface. Let's now also look at, now, so that's the rover vehicle. Once upon landing, it breaks away from the main shuttle itself and then lands on the moon surface. This is not going to come back. Let's try and tell you what's going to send it there. That's the Bahubali LVM-3. This is a rocket that will send the Indian mission into the moon. The LVM-3 is a heavy lift launch vehicle, which is the most powerful rocket that Isro has ever made, ever developed. The LVM-3 is a 3-stage rocket. It carries a large payload into space. That's what it can do. It's a heavyweight launch vehicle. So that's why nearly 4 tons of mass is going to go into stage. 2 solid fuel boosters provide initial thrust. Liquid fuel core stage provides the sustained thrust to propel the rocket into orbit. And the rocket is powered by 2 solid strap-on motors, the S-200. 1 high-thrust cryogenic upper stage, the C-25, and 1 liquid core stage, that is the L-110. Propellant loading of 28 tons, lift-off mass of 640 tons, and it carries a payload of up to 4 tons. So you saw the overall weight was nearly roughly about 3,900 odd tons. So just under that actual ideal weight that this rocket can actually. So this is the details that we have. Let's try and also now understand a little more about how this LVM-3 works. The rocket operates using a staged combustion cycle, employs liquid-fueled engines for its core and strap-on boosters. The core stage of the rocket is powered by 2 Vikas engines, and each Vikas engine generates an impressive thrust of 720 kilo. And 2 solid propellant boosters provide an additional thrust during the initial phase of the launch. The upper stage of the LVM-3 utilizes the CE-20 engine, and this engine is an indigenously developed cryogenic engine which provides the necessary thrust to reach the desired orbit. Now the vehicle then takes off with simultaneous ignition of the 2 boosters, and following which the core stage L10 is ignited at about 113 seconds into flight. And you'll be able to see all of this from 2:35 p.m. onwards if you continue to track the entire launch and the vehicle till its journey into the moon. Both the S-200 boosters burn for about 134 seconds, then they break away, and then the separation occurs at 137 seconds. And when you hear and follow the launch at 137 seconds, separation will be announced. The payload fairing containing the satellite then separates at an altitude of 115 kilometers above Earth. The payload then separates at 217 seconds post-launch. That's the next payload separation. And thereafter, it then uses the Earth's momentum itself to swing itself and get into the gravitational space of the moon so that it doesn't drift away elsewhere into space. So this is the level of science that is involved, mathematics and calculation that's involved, and you've got to get it right to the last dot, ladies and gentlemen. No margin for error here. That's how important this mission is, and that's how precise.